right, this is the Committee on Ways and Means. This is Thursday, March 16, 2017. We're at 6:02 p.m. Council DeFlorio. Council Del Sola.
Here.
We have 2 members present. We do not have a quorum.
We don't have a quorum right now. We will wait a few minutes. Councilman McLaughlin is running a little bit late. Hopefully he'll be here in a few minutes. Thank you.
Was this piece in front of us? And just ask him some quick questions, and in case we don't have a quorum, at least we can explain it at the council.
Thank you, Counselor.
Do you, in regards, this is regards to eminent domain to Sacramone Park, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And there's, I believe there's a little area of land right now between where the batting cages, is that right? There's that little piece, is this the piece of land we're speaking about?
Yes, that's exactly the piece we're talking about.
Okay, but as far as I know, and correct me if I'm wrong, if I remember correctly, Best Buy wants to give us that, or do we have to pay for it?
So the parcel, 162 Santilli Highway is the Best Buy property. That piece of land is a small parcel. It's adjacent. It's all tied to the same property. It's known as Parcel B of the Best Buy property. It's a little over 11,000 square feet. You may recall, actually my predecessor was in conversation with National Development at the time, and there was some brief discussion, but it was decided that it would make, from the city perspective, it would make more sense to proceed with a formal taking. And so what is for your consideration is an action to authorize the city to take a portion of that 162 Santilli Highway in order to expand Sacramone Park.
Okay, and that is, the proposed value of the land is 360 to 430,000?
That is a range. We went ahead and did the appraisals, and that's what
That's
came
what the
back.
range is?
Correct.
So that would be the offer that we would make to Best Buy?
That would be, that was the amounts that came back from the appraisals, and so that's something that would have to be discussed.
Negotiated?
Yes, and I would respectfully ask that we reserve that discussion.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
I just want to interrupt you for a second. We have Councilman McLaughlin is here, so we do have a quorum.
Sure.
And then we can start the meeting. You all set, Counselor? Counselor Floyd, you can continue. Can we
Okay.
stand first, salute the flag?
Oh, sure.
And Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, and I apologize for interrupting, but if you don't mind, also joining me tonight is our special counsel, Lee Smith, Attorney Lee Smith from KP Law, who can also speak to the finer details of of this item that is before us.
Now, this was discussed during capital improvement, is that correct? So there is money put aside in the capital improvement plan?
Correct,
Okay.
correct.
Okay.
And if it's beneficial, I'd be happy just to give a quick run-through here. As mentioned,
Sure.
as Councilor DeFlorio asked earlier. So the purpose of this item is to authorize the city to take a portion of the 162 Santilli Highway property, that's the Best Buy property, in order to expand Sacramone Park. Also in the capital improvement plan were designs, we finalized those designs now for Sacramone Park. I know we've had some public meetings, and I know the councilors here have been abreast of that, including the ward councilor, Councilor McLaughlin, as well. And so this is tied to the park project. That specific area, as Councilor DeFlorio asked earlier, is that space. It's known in the site plan for Best Buy as Parcel B. Little history behind that. I'd say about 10 years ago or so, when National Development is the property owner, came before the council, came before the planning board through site plan review. There was always discussion about Parcel A and Parcel B. Parcel A is for what's known today as where Best Buy is located. Parcel B was to be some type of eatery, perhaps, maybe a Starbucks, a Dunkin' Donuts, whatnot. For whatever reason, that never came to fruition. And so that parcel has, I guess, been on and off the market, whatnot, but it never came to fruition. And from the city perspective, we would like to acquire that section for the purposes of having standard ball fields and for the purpose of having a comprehensive concession stand facility, including a dedicated informal plaza as well. So that is the public purpose. In addition to the taking is a permanent easement, and the idea the permanent easement would run right along within that driveway meaning that entrance to Best Buy, where we all go in today. And the purpose of that easement, that permanent easement, is for public safety access and also for general park maintenance. Reasoning for that is the park itself, yes, there is an access today on the other side through Tileston that is used now. But as part of the park design and the project itself, we have to put a 3 to 4 foot cap and retaining wall around the entire perimeter, basically inch to inch, boundary to boundary. And so this driveway follows along with the topography, the shape of the land. And so it is certainly not only convenient, but also from a public safety perspective, much easier to access. Otherwise, we would have to take away from parkland to create that emergency entrance, exit, if you will. And so we found it fitting to include that. In terms of area, I mentioned earlier that Parcel A is approximately 11,000 square feet, and the permanent easement is approximately 7,000 square feet as well. As I said earlier, we went through the formal process of getting the appraisals and so on. We believe we have the funding to cover it in the CIP as this council has authorized in the past. And for all intents and purposes, we believe that everything is in good order. I did prepare, as you all have received, a memo on March 15th with several attachments which may be helpful for your benefit. Attachment 1 is just a general aerial view as I've described. Attachment 2 are just some photos that were taken just so people get their bearings in terms of the actual location. Attachment 3 is the taking plan and permanent easement plan. Attachment 4 is an excerpt from the park design. And I think the best way to look at attachment 4, it's just a snapshot of that single area, is to also look comprehensively at attachment 5, which shows the entire park design area, so you get a better sense of exactly what we're working with and what the interest is in the taking. So in short, that's essentially all this is. And certainly happy to answer any questions. And as I stated, Attorney Lee Smith from KMP Law is here too on any finer details.
Councilor McLaughlin, you had a question?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, briefly through you to our Community Development Director. Mr. Souza, a couple of questions. I think we have spoken about this, but can we discuss price of the parcel this evening?
The question on the price of the parcel, I'll defer to Attorney Lee Smith. I think the price of parcel probably be best to be discussed in an executive session,
Okay.
but I'll defer to.
Which is fine, and we can do that at a future date. I just wanted to know that if we could talk about it tonight, if not, if we want to talk about it behind executive session, that's okay as well, but Mr. Smith, sorry. Paul.
Mr. Chairman, through you.
Sure, is that on? No, up, it goes up. Yeah, just state your name.
Lee Smith, is this on? Is it Lee Smith, Special Counsel, KP Law. It's in the council's discretion as to whether they'd prefer to discuss the matter in executive session. If you were doing so, it would be because you're discussing the value of real property.
Okay.
And that could negatively affect your bargaining position. That being said, it's up to the chair's discretion as to whether that matter would have been reasonably anticipated by you in advance. It's my understanding that executive session was not included in the notice of tonight's meeting,
That's correct.
so to your discretion.
Can we go into executive, through you to Mr. Burley? Mr. Burley, can we go into executive session at a later date on this item to get the details of the agreement? So if we refer it out to the council tonight with a favorable recommendation, and then we can ask for an executive session at that time to go in the back and to talk about the specific dollar amount? Okay, that's probably the most prudent way to do this, to be honest. And if my colleagues agree with me, if not, we can go other route, but Ms. Souza, I will have a couple of brief questions that I can ask at the council meeting, because I know this is going to get referred out.
Sure.
Just about specifics of how that's going to work with the easement through that one entrance, but we can talk about all of that at council. I think tonight the most prudent thing is to vote favorable action on this and send this along, and then we can have a more in-depth conversation and bring it to a head at a later date.
Sure, happy to do so.
So I'm going to make a motion that we've, for favorable action, that we refer this out to the body as a whole, and that we ask that an executive session is set up to talk about the specifics of the litigation on the parcel of land.
Before we do that, we have a couple of questions, and then we can vote on that. That'd be okay?
I just have one quick question. I
Counselor
just
Florio?
want Mr. Souza to make sure he comes prepared into that the session. My question is, yes, how much we're paying for the parcel? My other question is the gate that's there now, is there gonna be any changes in the entrance to Best Buy? And the third is, how much real estate taxes are we gonna lose by taking this parcel?
I'll be happy to follow up on those questions. Third question was with respect to real estate taxes?
Yes, is
much
that
it
gonna,
is.
how much is that gonna cut
Sure,
down
sure.
Best Buy's real estate taxes by eliminating those
Sure.
pieces of property?
And I will follow up with the city assessor, get a finer detail on that prior to the next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Just a couple of questions from the chair. I know the sporting events that go on down there during the summer, Little League and all that, are very itchy on this subject. So the questions, I think you can answer these. How long, I know it's going to be hard to answer this question, but how long do you think this is going to take to get the process of the park, get it going? It seems like we've been, I don't want to say dragging this out, but it's been a long time. The last couple of years, opening day, they were promised, next year we'll be here with a new park, and it doesn't happen. And it gets frustrating, especially if we're waiting for this partial land to be purchased to start the process. So if you can answer that question, when do you think?
Sure, and I can also give some background too. Certainly the process itself, I mean, even as of Wednesday or so, we have put the construction of Sacramone Park out to bid. So that is in good order. We would not award until this item was approved, authorized by the council and the mayor ultimately. In terms of timeline, we're looking at, you figure, starting sometime this spring, completion sometime this fall. There's a little give and take, certainly, depending on,
So you think you're going to start it this spring and be done by the fall?
if we can. So for example, if we were to start sometime, let's say May or June, then we'd be looking at completion, let's say October, November or so. With landscaping, there's a tremendous amount of landscaping in this plan. Landscaping would be, aside from the planting of trees and so on, but shrubs, flowers and so on, of course, would be done during the early spring. But generally speaking, that's the time frame that we would be looking at. Also, though, with respect to Little League and Pop Warner and so on, we, through the director of DPW, through my office as well, and the city engineer, we've been working on coordination of finding locations for the organized sports.
Correct.
And I thought, I know the ward councilor, I believe was there too. We had a couple of very good meetings, we thought, and there is a plan in the works to have Little League relocated and Pop Warner relocated as well for the time being. Again, the goal is to have this park ready for opening day next April. And so, unless if there's something that happens that we do not anticipate, that's the timeline that we do plan to follow. As I said before, again, the specs are out. We would not finalize or award until this item is in good order, meaning approved, authorized, and so on. But we've certainly checked with our council, and we do believe everything is in good order with respect to that.
And last question, just for the residents down there, I don't know if you were referring to that, Counselor, the other gate going to be open on the other side of Best Buy as they do the work, on the entrance that's there now? Because you know what's going to happen. If they
Sure.
can't get through there, they're going to want to come through the other side. I know it might be temporary, but that's a hot issue, open up the other gate at the other end of Best Buy.
Right. If I may, I'd ask a question too. I don't know, is there a preference in terms of opening of
Well,
that
I know
gate?
it's, Councilor Sani brought that up a couple of years ago. When
Sure.
before the park was even being developed, about using that. Like anything else, if it's a temporary thing, if it's only a month or two, why the new construction for safety? I'm all for it.
Sure.
As long as the residents are notified. So that's what, you can come back with this answer when you come back with the other answers that we asked you, the questions we asked you already. At the next meeting, you might have an answer for us then.
Sure.
If we open the gate on the other side, if we could put temporary signs that you could say residential only going through the village. So the outside people are not, they can go out the same way, the other way. Yes, it would be open for
Chairman, if I
business,
can't
but what
through-
I'm saying
Oh, it's
is
open for business.
the people in that area of Kelvin Street further up do not want that gate opened.
So they would come off the parkway there.
So they will come
and
off
take a
the
left into
parkway,
parking
take a
lot.
left to go into Best Buy, and there is enough room for them to go out that way, is that correct?
Yes.
So
There
that
is.
you could put temporary signs, residential entrance only, residential only, if there's gonna be a problem with the residents in
Yeah,
that area.
perhaps. My initial thought here is we don't anticipate at all shutting down the entrance to Best Buy at all.
Okay.
Mobilization would occur adjacent to the park on Santilli Highway, where we have, there is ample room there. Santilli is wide enough for temporary trailers and so on. I do not believe that would conflict. But it's certainly something with respect to the emergency access gate and whether to open it up temporarily or permanently. Just so the council is aware, and I've come to learn this over my years here, the gate itself, it is a sensitive issue. It is also an important condition as part of the Best Buy development through the planning board that gate be closed. From time to time, it does seem to come up, particularly during the holidays, to help alleviate with traffic. I think that's a separate, in my opinion, somewhat a separate topic. But certainly, if it is something that we can certainly discuss if need be, if it needs to be open even on a temporary basis due to the park construction. I don't foresee it, but I certainly think it's worth being well aware of it and using it if we have to, and I'd be happy to follow up.
Okay. If we say no now and we're down there working and for some strange reason we have to shut that down, I know we'll notify the neighbors and let them know how long it would be for. If we had to put a police detail there, so, you know, whatever it takes to,
Absolutely, absolutely. The idea of police detail is important, clearly with all the movement of traffic and pedestrians there, in any event, whether the park is open or not. And point is very well taken.
thank you.
Yeah.
Council McLaughlin?
Mr. Chairman, through you. Mr. Souza raises a valid point about the residents in the area of the village. I just spoke with Council Sani. I think her and I are going to work closely together to coordinate with the residents down there to see what their feelings are. I know that in the years, the makeup of the village has changed a little bit with some of the residents in some of the older neighborhood. It has changed. So as Councilor Sani and I were just talking, that we'll work closely, sure, with you guys as well to figure out what the best solution is for that. But I do see a purpose of opening that gate temporarily during that construction to help out Best Buy. We definitely don't want to, hurt their business or make any real detrimental impact into their business. So I think working closely together as a team and can coordinate will be a bonus, and I think opening that gate is beneficial during the construction of the park. That being said, I think we should move favorable action, as I said, and I think that there's other questions that should be talked about. My only statement is that when we go into executive session, that we ask Attorney Mejia to come prepared with the language prepared that we're going to vote on in the agreement for the land. Is that Mr. Souza? But I want her to come with the language prepared. No, she has to give it to us. I want I'm sorry, not to cross debate, I apologize.
go ahead.
We went on. Through you, Mr. Chair. I'm not really looking for her to tell us what we're actually voting on.
Correct.
I'm sorry. We can talk about it afterwards, Counselor, but
You have to ask the questions in writing, is that correct, Mr. Clerk? Right. So whatever you
But
want
I'm
from the
not-
city solicitor, just ask her in writing and for her to be prepared at our next council meeting.
Correct.
Yes.
So he could tell the city solicitor exactly what we want.
and all I'm looking for is not really a question other than
Is
what
the amount.
what are we voting? What exactly are we voting on?
Right.
And I'm not sure if Mr. Smith is going to be the one that can give that information to us at the executive session, or it is Mrs. Mejia. But somebody, I just want black and white what we're actually voting on and what the terms are and what the agreement states.
We want the correct language.
And through you, Mr. Chairman, if I may, Attorney Smith can articulate as to what the language would be in shape and form. So.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you, what would be presented to the full council is a draft order that I'm not sure if that was presented in their materials last week already.
I believe it was.
So,
Yes. Right.
and then that's okay.
So then I'm just seeing this packet for the first time, so then I'll review this packet before the meeting, and then I'll be able to have the detailed information. I apologize. I didn't realize it was in there. Sorry for that.
Just to clarify, there are essentially two documents. One would be the form of vote that would be asking the city council to take, and then there's the actual order of taking that are substantially similar. The order of taking itself is what, if approved, would be recorded in the registry of deeds, and upon that recording, the transfer of land to the title of the city would be effective. So just to clarify, there's no separate land transfer agreement with the landowner at this time.
Okay, nope, that's great, and I'll read through those. Once we take this vote, does it happen quickly that we obtain that land? Is there and again, we can talk about this later, but is there a check that's issued tomorrow, and then we move forward at that point of taking the ownership of that piece of land?
Other than, thank you. Other than the issue as to whether the council decides that it's I believe a matter that needs to be tabled, for a period of time, 7 days.
Mhm.
Other than that, once it becomes effective, we can go straight away to have the order itself recorded in the registry of deeds, and it's effective immediately. The payment of the damages has to be made within 60 days after that. So the whole process in relatively short order.
And again, I'm sorry, again, it's because it does serve a public purpose, so.
Yep, and that's exactly right. It serves public purpose, and we've already put the contract up to bid, right, last Wednesday. So
Yeah.
that's why I'm just trying to make sure that we're
Absolutely.
expediting this as fastly as we can, so that we are moving this proposal and bid ahead as fast as we can, so that we can actually get to work. As Councilor Del Sol said, we've all been talking about this project for several years, and it's time to actually get
Yeah.
shovels in the ground to get this project
We're,
moving forward.
we're
So
very excited to get this
I
rolling.
am as well, and
Yes.
my colleagues sharing that same excitement of knowing that area, and look forward to that project being done. Thanks, Mr. Souza, for your
Thank you.
attention tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
gentlemen.
Thank you.
On the motion,
Make a motion that we, favorable action, and that we ask for an executive session at the council meeting, and invite Mr. Souza, Attorney Smith, Mr. Demus from the CFO, Mrs. Mejia, our city solicitor, and I'm wondering if we need to have somebody from the Department of Public Works present to know how we're going to secure the land once we take ownership of it. But if you guys don't feel that's necessary, that's okay. And the representative of the mayor's office, absolutely, council's right. So, Mr. Burley, do you have those? Okay, so somebody from DPW and somebody from the mayor's office.
I'd say the mayor's office would be sufficient, I think.
Yep, good enough. We don't need DPW. We can just invite somebody from the mayor's office. That's fine.
Okay, on the motion, all in favor? All opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you, gentlemen. Yeah.
We're going to reconvene in the
We're gonna
back room to
reconvene
sign the
out
monthly
back.
bills.
This part of the meeting is over. We'll reconvene out back. Thank you.